Hello and welcome to iHeart Cooking. I'm registered dietitian Jennifer Stachler.
And I'm Chef Dugan Wetzel.
We are both from Reid Health. Today's program is brought to you by Reid Health Community Benefits, WCTV, and RPNL. Today on iHeart Cooking, we're learning about omega-3 fatty acids. So today on iHeart Cooking, we are going to be talking about omega-3 fatty acids, which are a lot of good fats that make it heart healthy. You find them a lot in some of your nuts, your fish, your avocados, things like that, the good fats that you're looking for. So the two recipes that we're going to be preparing for you is edamame and salmon stir fry with miso butter and also a spicy tuna wrap. So the two kind of components that have those omega-3 fatty acids are going to be your salmon and your tuna. But we have a lot of other nutrition that's also going to be in both of these that we're going to talk about, things that we've talked about in past episodes and some topics we're going to talk about some in future episodes as well. So the first one we're going to get started on is the salmon recipe, which is that edamame and salmon stir fry with miso butter.
So the first thing we're actually going to do is we're going to go ahead and make our miso butter. Really simple, really easy. We're going to melt 2 tablespoons of butter, unsalted butter. We have our miso already in a bowl here, and what miso is just a powdered soybean that's not compressed and made into tofu or other products. So it's dried, it's a powder. We mix them together, and we have our butter.
So basically, it's a plant-based protein that you're getting it from, and like Dugan said, it's made a couple different ways. This is more of the powder pasty form that you kind of find the miso in. One thing about miso though, and we've kind of had this experience, it's hard to find it in the area.
Oh, yeah.
The closest place we tend to find it in would be probably Dayton, Indy, Cincinnati, kind of your bigger health food chain stores, or health food stores like food markets, things like that, Whole Foods is where you're probably going to find it. A lot of times you can't find it in some of our basic grocery stores.
So while we're waiting on our butter here, I'm just cutting up a zucchini. You want it to be smaller pieces. Now zucchini is made up of mostly water, so it's not going to take a lot of time for it to cook down and become soft. Because it is a stir fry, we're using a really high heat. That way it's quick, fast cooking. We also did the same thing with our salmon. We used just 3 salmon fillets here, and I went ahead and cubed them up into 1-inch pieces because, like I said, it is a stir fry. We turn it on high heat, let it get really hot, put it all in there. If you've seen Chinese cooking where they cook in the big woks, they have that big butane torch underneath it. It's extremely hot and it goes very fast. Minute, 2 minutes tops, your food's done and ready. So that's kind of the technique that we're using here today.
And one nice thing about quick healthy meals is that if you don't have a lot of time, if you're busy with work, things like that, this is something this meal can be prepared in 30 minutes or less. So our butter is melted, so we're going to add some of that miso in there. We're going to be making, like it says in the title, that miso butter.
Absolutely. I'm actually going to take it off the heat to prevent it from cooking even more, because if you cook butter, if you've used it in there for a really long time, it starts to brown. Now that's great for flavor, but for the sake of this recipe, we don't need it to give that nutty aroma. So I'm just going to add it to the miso here. Going to add about a tablespoon of water as well to kind of help that from clumping up too much. And while I whisk that, I'm going to get our oil hot. So I'm going to go ahead and add just a tablespoon of oil. Turn up the heat. You want it to be about medium-high heat. You don't want it to be too hot, because while you're doing this, your oil could brown and get very bitter, and then it's just not going to be a very good flavor for you. So whisk this real quick. Okay.
And your butter is basically made right there. So again, you got your unsalted butter with a little bit of soybeans in there.
Now, we are using the same pan You can do that, or you can use a completely different pan, however you want to do it.
Saves on dishes, so you don't have as much
absolutely.
dishes later on.
And it's got that butter in there, so it'll give it a
Extra
little
flavor.
extra flavor, yeah. Now, like I said, always wait. In previous episodes, you always want your oils to be really hot. This is also a nice indicator as well. With that butter in there, it's a different type of fat. So when that oil is real hot, you're going to start smelling it. It's going to start sizzling when you swirl it around in the pan. And that's when you know you're going to be ready. Once you see smoke, if you start seeing smoke come up from the pan, maybe turn it down just a little bit because you got your oil a little too hot. So maybe about 30 more seconds. We're starting to get a little brown there. We're about ready to start throwing it all together.
So that's something with it. A little bit more about that miso. One great aspect of it is it's going to add protein because it is soybean based. So if you're looking at vegetarian meals, that miso is going to be perfect with it. Now we also have the salmon, which has the omega-3 fatty acid component. So you actually have two proteins. You're having some from the miso. Granted, you're not getting a lot in that butter, but you're also getting some from the most of it from the salmon that you're adding from this dish.
Yep. All right, so we're going to go ahead and start. You can hear starting to sizzle. You want to be delicate depending on what kind of salmon you're using, because it is a very flaky fish. If you still like the chunks, you can always use like the chunks of salmon. You can use a rubber spatula. It's a lot softer. It's easier to move around the pieces of salmon. If you like it kind of torn up, feel free to use a metal spoon, a wooden spoon, whatever you have at home. So it's just going to take a couple minutes here to get that cooked through before we start adding the rest of our ingredients here. So our salmon's about cooked through. You want it to be about 3/4 of the way done because you're actually going to take it out, let it sit, cook the rest of your ingredients, and then add it back into it to finish it off. So just about, I'd say, less than a minute here. You can see, you know when the salmon's going to start getting cooked all the way through because all the fat on the inside is going to start coming out, little white spots.
Yep.
That's when you know that it's starting to get all that extra fat kind of releases through the salmon, and it's about cooked. So I'm going to go ahead and just put it here on our cutting board. One tip here while I'm getting this out. You saw we use raw salmon. We use this bowl here. Don't put your salmon back in that bowl, obviously. But I just want to put that disclaimer out there because you are using raw fish. There's still raw juice in there and it could make you very, very sick. So always put it on a clean surface. That way you know that you're not going to get cross-contamination with anything and you're not going to run the risk of getting sick from it. So that's ready. We're going to go ahead and add the rest of our ingredients. We've got some onions. Won't take very long. They're small, fine diced, very fast. Like I said, this is fast cooking. You want smaller pieces.
Absolutely.
It'll make it go really quick.
Absolutely. And again, like most of our recipes in past cooking classes, we're adding a lot of flavors from the foods that we already made, using the same dishes, the onions, because we're not adding salt to enhance the flavors of these recipes. Most of that is omitted out in almost every recipe we've ever made.
Absolutely. So I went ahead and added our zucchini. We're just going to let that cook down for a little bit before we add our herbs and our salmon back into it.
So one nice thing about this recipe is it's very carb friendly. Per serving, about 17 grams of carbohydrates. So if you're diabetic or somebody who's watching a low kind of carb diet, the only thing that really is going to have the carbs in here is the edamame, which we already kind of added in here. If you kind of see in the dish, it's those green kind of beans that you're seeing. There's not much carbohydrates going to be in the onions or zucchini. Of course, salmon's a protein and won't have the carbohydrates there. So that's something that's kind of nice and friendly when we're talking, again, just not only diabetes, but also heart health at the same time.
So we've got our vegetables cooked off. They're nice and tender. We're going to go ahead and add back our salmon pieces.
This is also going to help cook it the rest of the way through, because like Dugan said, we cooked it almost all the way the first time, but not completely cooked through, but now this is going to finish it off.
Just a little bit of basil. And you're going to see from this, the butter sitting here on the table for a little bit, it started to absorb into that miso powder, so it's got a nice buttery, thick texture.
Absolutely.
So we're just going to add that back in to kind of coat everything.
And from there, you're basically just going to cook it off, and once it's done, the dish is complete.
You're ready to serve, yep.
You can kind of smell already some of that butter and basically that basil big time once we've added that in. You can use fresh basil as well. Just keep in mind you might want to use more than what the dried is calling for.
Yeah. I think the recipe calls for about a half cup of fresh basil. You may want to use a tablespoon or a little more than that, just a little more than that if you're using dried herbs, just because of the concentration of the flavor. So it's been about a minute. Salmon's pretty much cooked off. It's got a nice shine from the butter. It's got an amazing smell from that miso powder. So we're the basil in there. It's looking forward to this one. Yeah.
One nice thing with this recipe, you're looking at a couple of food groups here. You got your protein, you got your vegetables, and you got your starch. So when we're looking at a meal, we want to try to at least get 2 to 3 kind of food groups per meal, and that's something that this recipe does all of that just with this quick recipe. And again, 30 minutes or less to make this kind of meal right here. So we'll take a bite of it after it kind of, still a little warm as you can see, but we'll take a bite and let you know how it tastes. You can see that salmon's kind of breaking up as well as you're kind of putting your fork into it. Very rich flavor. That kind of salmon just melts in your mouth. It's just flakiness. Richness comes from that miso butter. And then you kind of got the crunch there a little bit, and also with the vegetables and everything else.
I like the texture contrast between the soft zucchini and the crunchy edamame. It's really a nice play on the flavor, or the textures there.
Absolutely. So something to be a great meal to try at home in 30 minutes or less. So the second recipe we have for omega-3 fatty acids is that spicy tuna wrap. So again, the omega-3 is coming from that tuna aspect of the recipe. And this recipe, again, very quick and easy. You don't even need a heat source. It's something that it's all going to be not heated. I mean, you don't have to heat through.
Mix it together, put it in a wrap, roll it up, and it's ready to eat.
Yeah.
Very, very fast, very easy.
Great lunch option, too, for many individuals who work and want something quick and easy.
Absolutely. So what we're going to do is, like Jen said, it's a spicy tuna wrap. So we put our chunk tuna light in the can, drained the water out of it, put it in our bowl here. I would always recommend using water over oil. Yep. I think most of it is just in water now.
Yeah.
I haven't seen very much in oil anymore, but just for the health aspect of it, it's a lot better to get the one that's in the oil.
Absolutely, or in the water, because actually if you have the one in the oil, it's just going to be extra calories. They actually make them now that you can buy them in the packages. Where they don't really have water or oil in there, and it's something you just tear off and can start eating right away.
Absolutely.
So they're making it more friendly, easy for you to have. One thing you do have to be concerned about with tuna, if you're expecting mother or something like myself, you do have to watch out for the high mercury count, because that's something that can cause some damage during the pregnancy. Not saying you can't have it, you just have to limit how much of it you have.
So we're going to go ahead and add some Tabasco sauce. If you like Tabasco sauce, go ahead and add as much as you want. Recipe calls for about a tablespoon here, so that's what we're going to add to it. And some low-fat, light mayonnaise. That's something, if you have the ambition or you want to take a little bit more time, you can make your own mayonnaise as well, kind of to make it a little bit more health aspect of what you have in it. But for quick, easy, that's something just like Dugan said, that light mayonnaise would be perfect. It's definitely going to work out when you're making mayonnaise. If you've ever made it at home, you can't stop whisking for about 20 minutes and before it even starts forming, unless you have a mixer. I use a blender when I make mine. Okay, so we're mixed up. It's got a nice almost orange color to it from that Tabasco, so it gives it a nice contrast in color there. Just going to let that sit here for a second. Kind of let those flavors blend together. And And while we're doing that, we're going to cut up some chive. Just real quick, small pieces.
And chive's one of those herbs that's so easy to grow around here.
Oh, yeah.
It's something you can put into any flower bed garden, because actually when it goes to bloom, it goes to a purple flower, so it actually looks really pretty in the flower beds. At home, I have it out in my flower bed, and when I need chives, I literally go out with the scissors, cut some off, and take it as I go.
Yeah.
That's something that we are using chives instead of scallions for this recipe, just because sometimes it's harder to find those scallions available, and the chives are going to give you that kind of same aspect of flavor.
It's going to have a nice flavor, yeah, absolutely. So we've got our mixture. We've got our whole wheat tortilla right here on our cutting board. All you're going to do is take about a quarter of that mixture, put it on there, and just spread it down the middle. Easy as that.
We're also using a whole wheat tortilla shell. Nice thing about using whole wheat, you're getting extra fiber in there, which is going to be heart health. Nice thing about fiber, sometimes we can't digest it all. It's excrete it right back out. On the way out, it's going to be collecting waste like cholesterol. So it kind of can help with that aspect. So any fiber we can get added to our diet is a benefit for us. About at least 25 grams of fiber per day is recommended.
Okay, so the next thing that we're going to do, we have some pre-cooked brown rice. The reason it's pre-cooked is you want it to be cooled.
Yep.
Do what you normally do to cook rice, 2-to-1 ratio, water to rice. We're using the brown here. We went ahead and put it in a pan and let it kind of chill. And then we're just going to go ahead and simply put maybe a quarter cup serving just right on top of our tuna mixture here.
And again, with the brown rice, it's kind of like that whole wheat tortilla shell. Brown rice versus white rice is going to have more of the fiber aspect to it, making it, again, more heart healthy for you.
Just going to finish it here. Got a little bit of shredded carrot. And the last one is going to be avocado. And if you've seen in recent episodes, we've worked with avocado. Easiest way to get the avocado out of its shell is just slide your knife through there until you reach the seed. You'll see it'll kind of catch. And then just rotate the avocado around the blade until you get to the other side. That way you know it's all the way cooked, it's cut all the way through. You just take your hands and twist it off. Very easy. You still have your seed there. Depending on how you're using the avocado, you could just use a spoon, you could use your fingers and dig it out, or you can get your knife. If you're wanting nice slices of avocado, you want the appearance of it, just stab it into that seed and just twist it right out. Very easy, safest way to do it. Then we'll just go ahead and discard the seed, pop the avocado out here, put a couple slices on our wrap and roll it up and it's ready to eat.
Absolutely. One nice thing about avocado is it's going to have a lot of good fats. You're looking at those monopolyunsaturated fats, which are the good fats we want a lot of, instead of those bad fats, which are those saturated fats and trans fats. One nice thing about this recipe, you got tuna, which is relatively low in fat. You're not adding any extra kind of what we consider those bad fats, that trans, that saturated fats. A lot of good, healthy fats here.
Okay. So we've got our avocado on there, and then the final piece is going to be just adding a little bit of watercress to it. We're just going to use the leaves. You can just go through and pluck some of them off here. You can find watercress at Meijer, Kroger. It's pretty readily available for you.
It is, and it's just nice, one of those nice dark green leafy vegetables, good amount of vitamin K in there for you. So that's something that's just going to add some flavor and get some more nutrients in there.
Absolutely. Just going to do a rough chop to kind of mince it up a little bit, and then we're just going to add it on top and roll it up.
You can see, very quick and easy. Probably the longest process you're going to have is if you actually cook off that rice. At the same time you're trying to make this, that's going to take a little bit of time where you get the majority of that time. But like if you did what we did, cooked it off, let it cool down, and then start preparing these, that's something you could probably keep cooked rice in the fridge for a couple of days, and you can prepare this very quick and easy for you as you need it.
Absolutely. That's the end of the wrap. Very
Yeah.
quick, very fast, and we're
Very
ready
quick.
to sample it.
Absolutely. So as you can see, not only is it, we have it cut up here about ready to try, but you got some good color there. You got some green from the avocado, you got some orange from the carrot. So it kind of gives you some other colors. When we're talking colors, we're talking different antioxidants and different minerals and vitamins you're getting from that.
Again, like the last recipe, I'm more of a texture eater, and
Yep.
I like the contrast with the carrot because you got the soft avocado, the soft rice, the soft tuna. That carrot in there really helps kind of
Get that crunch.
bring it all together for me, and I'm really a big fan of hot food, so
Yep. You can,
Tabasco's never a bad thing.
yeah, because as you eat this, I didn't really taste much of that Tabasco, the hot sauce, but as I kind of ate it a little bit more, you kind of get a kick there. If you like more of it, like Dugan said, you can always add more to that if you like that flavor. I could see myself very easily making this for lunch, quick and easy, something my daughter would even prefer, even my husband. So
Absolutely.
very quick, easy meal there for you, and a lot of good omega-3 fatty acids. Thank you for tuning into iHeart Cooking. We hope you enjoyed all the information and recipes that we provided for you today.
For more heart-healthy recipes, you can visit Reid Health's website at reidhealth.org/iHeartCooking.
We'll see you next month.